It's a small island, caressed by the trade winds of the east, an Asian melting pot awash with folklore, a 21st century commercial centre of gleaming steel and glass, a modern city with ancient roots. This is Singapore. In the 7th century, Singapore was a trading centre of an ancient Sumatran empire known as Temasek. A prince visiting in the 13th century named it the Singapura, or Lion City, after spotting what he thought was a lion. From this time on, Singapore declined until the arrival of Sir Thomas Stamford Raffles of the British East India Company in 1819. Recognising the island's strategic location, he shortened the name to Singapore and declared the island a British free port. It soon, once again, became a flourishing trading centre. Today, Singapore is an intriguing mix of the old and new. In less than a generation, the island state has moved from the abacus to the computer age. Today, it is a growing financial capital, where over 40 international banks compete in the eternal race for the dollar. In the region, Singapore's economy is second only to that of Japan. Sitting at Marina Bay on the river is Singapore's national emblem, the merlion. The lion head and fish body recalls the story of the sightings of the lion by the prince and the island's ties to the sea. This 8-metre, 70-ton representation welcomes all to the city. The prettiest part of the city stands as a testament to Singapore's graceful colonial past. This is the Padang, or village green. The old colonial British-style buildings are clustered around the edges. The stately Supreme Court, with its impressive dome, stands next to the City Hall with its Corinthian columns. The City Hall was built in 1929. It was within that, in 1945, that the Japanese surrendered to Lord Louis Mountbatten. It now houses various government ministries. The Supreme Court, built just before World War II in 1939, was adopted as the Japanese occupation headquarters. It is one of the finest buildings of the British era. Next door sits Parliament House. It was built as a private mansion in 1827. It was later rented by the government and was eventually purchased in 1841 for use as a courthouse. It was extensively renovated in 1954 and was reopened as the Assembly House of the British Colonial Authority. Today, it is the seat of the Singapore Parliament. A few minutes' walk away is the Victoria Memorial Hall and Theatre. The left wing of this grand building was erected in 1862 as the local town hall, while the right wing was added in 1905. In front of the building stands one of the many statues to Sir Stamford Raffles, in tribute to the man who, through his foresight and genius, Singapore owes its existence. A little way down Parliament Lane stands another statue to Raffles, this time marking the site of his landing on Singapore in 1819. Post-World War II Singapore remained a British Crown colony until it became a new self-governing state in 1959. Today, it is a clean cosmopolitan centre of commerce, communication and industry. An ultra-modern city whose colourful past is always close at hand. Singapore's population of 2.8 million is a diverse melting pot of races. The Chinese make up 77% of the total, representing 5 principal ethnic groups. The Muslim Malays, who were the original settlers here, represent 15% of the population. The Malays and Arabs were among the first traders to arrive in Singapore, dealing in gold, coffee, spices and pearls. Today, the area around Arab Street retains its distinct flavours and Aladdin's cave atmosphere. Commerce is never far from the minds of Singapore's third largest ethnic group, the Indians. All along Serangoon Road, in the heart of Little India, open-air shops offer everything you could find in the bazaars of Delhi or Bombay. Food in Singapore can only be described as fantastic. Nowhere else have I found such a variety or diversity of styles. Leaping flames fanned by expert cooks, sizzling meat and exquisite aromas characterize the most popular Malay dish, satay. Satay is skewered, marinated meat, roasted over charcoal and dipped into a spicy peanut sauce. By following the locals, I discovered hawker stalls. These little kitchens offer an astounding variety of exotic foods. They are a popular and fun way to sample the dishes of the Orient. Newton Circus is a carnival of food. It's common practice to pay for your food when you are served. This means you can order many dishes from many or any stall, as seats are shared between the vendors. Probably the most iconic symbol of Singapore is the Raffles Hotel. The hotel was built in 1887 by 2 Armenian immigrants. This neo-Renaissance building, immortalized in the writings of Somerset Maugham, Rudyard Kipling and Noel Coward, became the very symbol of the old colonial Raj. During the 1920s, it was the hub of British social life. Today, it's still one of the most elegant hotels in all of Asia. In 1987, it was declared a national monument. One of the most famous drinks in the world was invented here in the Long Bar, the Singapore Sling. This heady concoction became so popular that sipping one in the Palm Court became a must for all travellers visiting here. It is a refreshing combination of gin, Peter herring, a few drops of Benedictine and Cointreau, a dash of Angostura bitters, orange, pineapple and lime juices on crushed ice. Beautiful on a hot night. Bogus Street was renowned internationally from the 1950s to the 1980s for its nightly gathering of Kai Tais, trans women, a phenomenon which made it one of Singapore's top tourist destinations during that period. As a youngster, I once asked an old hand I was with, "How do you tell what sex they are?" He replied, "The Kai Tais are drop-dead gorgeous, the rest were women." And it was true. In the late 1980s, the area was redeveloped and is now nothing more than a very expensive restaurant area with a dodgy market selling fake everything. One of the most popular activities for both tourists and locals alike is shopping. The best is to be found around the Orchard Road area. This is the Oxford Street of Singapore. Singapore's duty-free status makes it a bargain basement for the exotica of the East and the high-tech gadgetry of the West. The most noticeable of all the stores on Orchard Road is the Dynasty Hotel and Tangs Plaza, with its distinctive green and red tiled Chinese roof. Tangs touts itself as Singapore's Harrods. Both the hotel and the shopping plaza are owned by the Tang family. C.K. Tang arrived in Singapore in 1922 and was the first entrepreneur to note the potential of what is now Orchard Road. The Singaporeans are extremely proud of the city-state's Mass Rapid Transport System, or MRT. The MRT trains are ultra-quiet, ultra-modern, ultra-quick, and as the world's first air-conditioned underground railway, ultra-cool. Singapore's public transport system provides an essential service, especially in the light of the sky-high motor car taxation, which restricts the amount of people who can afford to own a car. For the very best views of Singapore, a trip to the 70th floor bar of the world's tallest hotel, the Westin Stamford, is hard to beat. The view is spectacular, as the whole city is laid out below. On a clear day, there are views across the sea to Indonesia and Malaysia. At night, the views get even better. On the east coast of the island sits Changi, with its notorious prison. Even today it has the look of a place you wouldn't want to enter. Most visitors come here to pay their own tribute to the 85,000 soldiers and civilians held captive here during the Japanese occupation. Outside the wall today sits a replica of one of the small Arab chapels built by the prisoners. It's a simple wooden affair with a thatched roof above the altar. In the face of starvation and extreme cruel treatment, these chapels became the focal points for many of the prisoners' lives. Adjacent to the chapel is the museum, in which vivid accounts of the inmates' wartime experiences are shown in photographs and paintings. Many of the photos were taken by Australian George Aspinall. They show more vividly the realities of war life here than any written diary. The Singaporeans' playground is the offshore island of Sentosa. Jump on a ferry or take the high-level cable car across the sea from the World Trade Center to this paradise island. Sentosa was once known as Pulau Belakang Mati, the island of death behind. It was where the local pirates buried their victims. The island's man-made beaches are exquisite. After a day of hectic sightseeing, this is just what the doctor ordered. It's not a good idea to leave anything unattended on the beach. You leave it, you lose it. The island's own troop of monkeys will see to that. In the short time I was there, I witnessed a camera, a pair of sunglasses, a handbag, a t-shirt, and a pair of shorts disappear into the trees.